Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. It's another edition of the On the Mark program here on the Eastern Caribbean Spa House Vaughan Radio. And of course, I'm sure you have realized by now that it's not the regular host tonight. It's not the Honorable Mark Brantley. It's Eric Evelyn. And I'm sitting in for Mark Brantley, and I'm sitting in for the Honorable Mark Brantley, Premier of Nevis, and it's always a pleasure to be here. I've been asked to host this show tonight, and it's always a pleasure to be here to interact with you, the folks in Radio Land. And let me say a special good night to all of the folks in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis across the entire Eastern Caribbean. And of course, we have lots and lots of listeners and viewers, of course, on Facebook, via Facebook, in the diaspora. And so let me say good night or good morning wherever you are, good afternoon wherever you are, and it's a pleasure to be here for another edition of On the Mark. Of course, it's one of the most talked about, most reputable talk shows in the Federation, and I believe across the region and probably across the globe. And of course, it's a commercial free talk show that comes on here on the Eastern Caribbean Spa House every Wednesday night, 8 to 10 o'clock. And of course, there's a rebroadcast the following day on a Thursday from 1 to 3 p.m. So of course, we always tell you, if you miss it on a Wednesday night, make sure you listen on a Thursday. And of course, if you listen on a Wednesday, be sure to listen again on a Thursday, because the program is always that good that you would want to get a second take. And so I'm encouraging you to be with us for the next 2 hours. And of course, you can call up a friend. Tell them that On the Mark is on, and we're going to be in for a wonderful show this evening. And of course, your phone calls would also be included. And at the top of the show, of course, we normally deal with a few housekeeping matters. And let me just start by just extending birthday or anniversary greetings to any of you who might be celebrating your birthday today, or would have celebrated early this week, or will be celebrating during the course of this week. If you celebrated last week, we say belated birthday or anniversary greetings to you as well. I do not have any names tonight, but anybody who is celebrating today, we hope that you've had a fantastic... Actually, I do have two names. I have Lorraine Archibald, Nurse Lorraine Archibald. You're celebrating today, and I know that you're having a blast. I know that you're having a great time. And of course, to Dennis, Dennis there in the US of A in Connecticut, I think he is. Hope you're having a wonderful time on your special day as well, Dennis. And of course, anyone who is also celebrating, enjoy your special day. Celebrate to the max. We of course also we normally greet the folks who are in the hospital, those who are not feeling too well, those who are a little bit under the weather. And let me go up to the Alexandra Hospital and say a special good night to my good friend, my darling Hilly. Hilly, good night. Hope you're feeling better. Continue to get better. Of course, continue to keep up the great spirit that you have. Also want to say good night to Mr. Joseph Maynard. He's from Handysville. Everybody knows him as Jumble. And I want to say good night to you, Mr. Maynard. Hope you're feeling better. Hope you're going to be out very soon. Also want to touch base and say good night to Morris Fish Burke, as well as Elvis Star Maynard and Dinsdale Dippy Paris. Good night to all of you, and I hope you guys will continue to feel better. Hope you're going to be out very soon, and may God continue to grant you good health and strength. And of course, anyone else who is not feeling too well tonight, we greet you and hope that you're going to feel better. Hope God will lay his hands on you and will lay his healing balm upon you as well. And of course, if there's anyone who is bereaved at this time, we want to say a special good night to you and hope that you will continue to get better with God's grace and mercy. I want also at the top of this show to say a very special thank you to those persons who came out this past Sunday, the 19th of July, to be a part of our Thanksgiving service, the Concerned Citizens Movement Thanksgiving service that was dubbed United in Christ, Giving Thanks and Praise. That service was held at the Gingerland Methodist Church at 5 o'clock on Sunday afternoon. It was a wonderful 1 hour service, short, sweet, to the point. And we want to say a special thank you to Reverend Wendell Samuel and the Methodist community there at the Gingerland Methodist Church for accommodating us and for doing such a fantastic job, to the ushers and the other folks at the Gingerland Methodist Church who are there to assist us. Of course, we know there are special protocols in place now at the churches as well, and so we had to abide by those protocols, and we want to say a special thank you to Reverend Samuel and his team there at the Gingerland Methodist Church for so ably accommodating us. And of course, we want to say thanks as well to all those who came and supported the service. Of course, we would have had the service because we know that on the 5th, Friday the 5th of June, the persons of Nevis, the voters of Nevis spoke overwhelmingly in favor of the Concerned Citizens Movement. And of course, we know we're a godly set of people, and we wanted to give God thanks and praise. We believe that the will of the people is the will of the Lord. And so we had to go and give God thanks and praise for his mercy, for taking us through a very successful and peaceful, free and fair election, general election. And of course, that service that we had on Sunday was as a result of a number of historic events. We had the historic federal elections on Friday, the 5th of June, when for the very first time the Concerned Citizens Movement was able to capture all three. We swept all three seats on Nevis, and we want to thank the people of Nevis for doing so and for voting for us in such overwhelming numbers. And then of course on Sunday the 14th of June we traveled over to St. Kitts to the Warner Park Stadium for the inauguration of the second term of the Team Unity administration. And then, of course, on Wednesday, the 8th of July, we had a special sitting, the first sitting of the National Assembly of St. Kitts and Nevis that was held at the Marriott. And, of course, we would have taken our oaths there. So some historic events that led up to our Thanksgiving service that we hosted at the Gingerland Methodist Church this past Sunday. And once again we say thank you, Reverend Samuel, and your Methodist congregation, the Methodist community. We say thank you once again, a big thank you to all the people of Nevis 9, 10 and 11, and of course thanks to the people of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis for embracing us, embracing the Concerned Citizens Movement. And I also want to say that tomorrow evening from 7:30 we start a series of town hall meetings. Of course, we would know that prior to the elections of June the 5th, the Concerned Citizens Movement, the Nevis Island administration that should be, would have hosted a number of town hall meetings across the island. And of course, the elections have gone, yes. We have thanked the people. We continue to thank the people, yes. But we must continue to dialogue with the people of Nevis. And so it is incumbent on us as an administration to continue to be with the people. And so our town hall meetings, dubbed Conversations with the People, will continue. Tomorrow we'll be at the Cotton Ground Community Center from 7:30 p.m. And so we are inviting folks from the St. Thomas's Parish area to be with us tomorrow evening at the Cotton Ground Community Center. We are reminding you that the protocols will be in place. There will be social distancing, and of course you're asked to wear your face mask as well. But we're inviting you nonetheless to come and dialogue with us in the Nevis Island administration. All 6 ministers of government will be there at the town hall meeting tomorrow. And as I said, tomorrow we kick off another series of town hall meetings as we continue to converse with the people. We want to talk to you, and we want you to talk to us. We want to hear your concerns. Of course, we know we are living in unprecedented times, and a lot of things are happening. A lot of strange things are happening. And we want the people of Nevis to know that the Nevis Island administration, irrespective of what's going on in St. Kitts, Nevis, and globally, we are with you. We are standing with you. We are in solidarity with you. And so we want to come to continue those conversations starting tomorrow night at the Cotton Ground Community Center, beginning at 7:30 p.m. And of course, I have another housekeeping matter I want to say as well, that on Friday the 23rd, is it the 23rd or the 24th? Friday is the 23rd. Friday is the 24th. On Friday the 24th of July, we'll have the opening of a new restaurant and bar over in the St. Thomas's Parish area. And of course, you know that the Nevis Island administration, we are always big on supporting local businesses, and we are always big on supporting small businesses, and we always commend persons on the island of Nevis who are willing to venture on their own. Of course, you know that the government cannot do everything, and so we're always very supportive. As the Honorable Mark Brantley always say, the small businesses, they help to drive the economy of Nevis, and so we're always very supportive. We normally give all of the small businesses all of the support that we possibly can, and of course, bearing in mind what's happening now as well with COVID, we want small businesses to thrive. And so we have a restaurant, a new restaurant and bar that will be opening in the St. Thomas's Parish area. It's on Westbury Road. The name of the restaurant is Dewdrops, and it's going to be situated when you're going up the Westbury Road on the left-hand side. If you know where the hydroponic farm is, it's probably about 75 meters up from the hydroponic farm, and it's on the same side, so you cannot miss it. You cannot miss it. And so I'm inviting you to go on over and patronize the business. Dewdrops is going to be opening on Friday, this coming Friday, from 12 noon until 10 p.m. and I know they're going to have great food, and the service there will be exceptional. Let me say good night to the owner of that business place. Her name is Marcella Marcy Isles of Barnesgut. She's a very beautiful lady, always smiling, and she's a great cook. Trust me, she is a great cook. I mean, I've had her food many times, and trust me, every time I've had her meals, they get better and better and better. I enjoy all the meals, but I have to say, Marcy, that I mean the dumplings and the cornmeal, man, they are out of this world. Trust me. So you need to try the food over at Dewdrops, owned by Marcella Isles. They're opening this coming Friday from 12 noon, until 10 p.m. and thereafter they will be open, guess what, every day, Sunday to Sunday. You hardly have any restaurant that is open Sunday to Sunday. You know, sometimes you're driving along and you say you can't find any place that is open. She's going to be open Sunday to Sunday from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. right? Breakfast, lunch, dinner. And anything you want, you'll be able to get. But this coming Friday in particular is going to be a special day. It's the opening. They're going to be having grilled fish, grilled lobster, grilled shellfish, grilled chicken, goat water, cook up. Everything that you could ask for will be there. And trust me, her food is always very, very tasty, and her staff is exceptional with the service and very, very pleasant. So I want to say a special good night to you, Marcy. Hope everything is going well for the opening on Friday, and I'm going to be encouraging persons to go on over anytime between 12 noon and 10 p.m. on Friday. And if you don't get to go on Friday, make sure you go and try her food. Tell her that I sent you when you go to try her food any day, Sunday to Sunday, and try that food at Dewdrops, owned by Marcella Isles. So I have gotten my housekeeping matters out of the way for now, and I am very pleased tonight because when I'm here hosting on the Mark, I like to have company, right? As Mark normally say, it gets a little lonely here sometimes. I know Melissa is here, but Melissa is in another room. Melissa is in another studio. So it's good when I have company here in the studio with me, and I'm very pleased that tonight I have company. And you know what? Guess what? Today is the 22nd of July, and tomorrow, if we didn't have that unwelcome visitor of COVID-19, tomorrow would have been the official opening of Culturama 46. And those of you who are watching on Facebook would realize that I have on my Culturama 2020 t-shirt. Now I have to tell you, there is no Culturama 2020 this year, but I had it since last year, right? So I'm sporting it tonight. I have to tell you in no uncertain terms that there will be no Culturama this year. The announcement has been made a long time ago that Culturama 2020 has been cancelled. C46, Culturama 46, has been postponed. Mark does not like me to say this. He likes to say Culturama cancelled. Just say that. Culturama is cancelled, yes. But C46 has been postponed because next year when we have it, it will still be C46 because we're not having a C46 this year. And so tomorrow would have been the official launch, the official opening of the festival. And I decided, something just came to me yesterday when Mark told me to host the show. I said, you know what? I thought just came to me yesterday. I said, I'm going to bring someone on the show. We're going to talk about Culturama. We're going to talk about what happened last year. We're going to have some reflections on Culturama last year and Culturama in general and Culturama going forward. And I have the real boss here tonight. I'm the Minister of Culture, but I have the real boss. The real boss of Culturama. And tonight I have in the studio with me, and I'm very, very pleased to have with me tonight Mr. Antonio Abonati Liburd. And it is such a pleasure to have him. I called Abo last night and I said, Abo, I have this crazy idea. I'm going to be hosting on the Mark tomorrow night, and I have this idea. We could just go and do some reflections. He said, absolutely no problem whatsoever. And Abo is such a resourceful young man. I'm going to call him a young man, right? Even though he's older than me, I'm going to call him a young man. Abo is such a resourceful young man that this evening, before I left home to come to the show, to come to Vaughan Radio, he brought me a folder, because even though I am the host of the show, Abo decided how we're going to run this show tonight. That's why I told you he's the real boss tonight, right? So he has decided how we're going to run the show, what we're going to say, and so Abo is the boss. And I have to say, trust me, he's such a resourceful person that I was surprised that I called Abo last night. And by this evening, I could have had a folder full of information that he would have put together today. We may not be able to go through all of them, but he came prepared. A lot of information on the history of Culturama. Anything you wanted about Culturama, Abo has it here. And I also want to say, as the old people would say, in front his face, behind his back. There's nobody who can run Culturama like Abo. Now, it's a little bit disheartening sometimes when during Culturama, when you hear people bashing the man and criticizing, but persons are not aware of what it is like to organize and execute a show, much less a festival. Trust me, because I've been involved in organizing festivals. I'm involved in organizing Gingerama. I've been involved in organizing other shows and so on. And trust me, it is difficult. And especially, you have to deal with people, and people are sometimes very, very difficult to manage and difficult to handle. And trust me, it's not easy. Abo does have a hard time every day. Trust me, I just be sorry for him. He's endless sleepless nights, but he always rises to the challenge. And I have to tip my hat to you, Abo. You have done a phenomenal job, an amazing job over the years, because based on the fact that I know what it is like to run a festival, and you always come out champion in hosting these Culturama year after year. And of course, we know we're coming off of a hugely successful C45 hosted last year. And about congrats to you, kudos to you for doing a phenomenal and amazing job over the years. And trust me, I don't know what we will ever do without you for a Culturama. You are just the boss. And so, Abo, say good night to the folks.
Yes, good evening, Minister Evelyn. Good evening to those persons tuned in to Vaughan Radio, and if you are hearing the voice of myself and Eric, it obviously means that you are tuned into the Eastern Caribbean's powerhouse, Vaughan Radio 860 on the AM dial. As Minister Evelyn indicated, tomorrow we would have been congregating at the Cultural Village to have the official opening ceremony for Culturama 46. We would have had the opening ceremony from 6 o'clock, and then from 8 o'clock we would have moved into the Petrix Junior Calypso Contest. Unfortunately, because of COVID-19, we have had to postpone Culturama 46 and cancel the staging of Culturama in 2020. And so we want to reflect, as Minister Evelyn said, on Culturama last year, Culturama in the past, and to also look at Culturama 46 and beyond. We a little later in the evening we are going to be opening up the lines because we want to hear from you. We want to hear from the listening public. We want to hear from the persons that participate in Culturama. We want to hear from the persons overseas who usually come to Nevis for Culturama, in terms of your likes, your dislikes, and how you think we can move this great festival forward. And so I invite everyone to tell a friend to tune in to Van Radio. Eric and Abo, we are at the controls this evening, and we will be talking Culturama.
Definitely. Thank you very much, Abo, for that opening statement. And I want to just say from the onset once again that it is very unfortunate that we are not having any festival this year. But of course, we know what has been happening, not only in St. Kitts and Nevis, but around the globe. I mean, everything has changed. We are living in a new normal now. And I have to say as well that Abo, a lot of persons have been calling, they have been messaging. We need something for the August holiday weekend, and unfortunately we won't be able to have anything. It's a little bit unfortunate. And you know the strange thing, Abo, most of the calls and questions are actually coming from folks from St. Kitts. You know, the folks from St. Kitts have a great appetite for coming to Nevis for that weekend, and some of them, they have been telling me, Culturama or no Culturama, we come into Nevis for that holiday weekend. And so we are expecting a lot of our brothers and sisters over from St. Kitts. And I have to say as well that there was actually a proposal to have a few activities on that particular weekend. Unfortunately, they didn't find favor with the COVID task force. And let me say here and now that I don't want us to think that it's a fight between us and the COVID task force. We are in this together. We respect what they have said, and it's not that we are saying here, well, we are upset because they have not given the sanction. We are in this together, and so we have great respect for the technicians who are in charge of the task force, and they have seen it fit for the activities not to be hosted, right? So we just want to make that absolutely clear that it is unfortunate, but nothing will be happening, nothing organized from our end for that particular weekend, Abo.
Yes,
I'm sure you've been getting calls as well.
I've been getting calls. As Eric just indicated, we were tasked with putting some activities. It would not have been called Culturama, but we were tasked with putting some activities together for the weekend because we were inundated with calls from St. Kitts. Persons wanted to come over, the vendors wanting to make some extra monies because, you know, they would have suffered some losses during the lockdown days. We actually put together a calendar of activities from Wednesday of next week until the Monday, but the COVID task force did not see it fit to sanction the events. As Eric said, we are not in any fight with them. We respect their opinion. We are here to work with them because at the end of it all, we want to say that the fight against COVID-19 was a united fight.
Right. Mm-hmm. Precisely. All right, so we just wanted to make that absolutely clear. But of course, we know persons will be going to the beach and doing their own little thing at home. And of course, we are inviting all the folks from St. Kitts who want to come over because, you know, we are trying very hard to ensure that the hotels are opened by next weekend to accept local guests, that is guests from St. Kitts and Nevis. Of course, I'm sure you would have heard the Prime Minister last night, and of course the federal cabinet, of which I'm fortunate to be a part of. We are trying to work, and of course the tourism officials, working along with the tourism officials as well, we are trying our utmost to try as much as possible to have the hotels open to accept local guests. Hopefully, I'm hoping that it happens by next week. And so if persons want to come over to stay at a hotel or a guest house, we're hoping that by then they will be open. And of course, vice versa, if anybody from Nevis want to go over to St. Kitts, we're hoping that the hotels and the guest houses over there could be opened as well. And so they can start to make a little bit of money and of course jumpstart the economy. Abba, you wanted to chime in?
Yes, I just wanted to let the persons and St. Kitts know that we have been working with the Nevis Tourism Authority who will be liaising with the guest houses, the hotels, to offer some special packages over that Emancipation Day weekend. So persons coming from St. Kitts can stay at top quality accommodation on Nevis for a at a very reasonable cost.
And I'm hoping as well about that of course that will extend to divisions, because if you're at home, you want to spend a little extra, you want to spend a weekend at a hotel, you should be able to go do that as well.
Exactly.
You make your money and you want to spend your money on yourself, and you want to say, well, I want to spend this particular weekend at a hotel, go and relax, you should be able to do that as well. Okay, all right, so let's get into some Culturama talk now, Abo, and maybe we can talk a little, start by you just giving a little information in terms of a little bit about the history of the festival.
Yes, well, we know that Culturama would have started in 1974 by a group of individuals, the Nevis Dramatic and Cultural Society. It was at a meeting of NEDACs in 1974. That meeting was in February of that year, that the discussion came up about a festival that would where Nevisians were able to showcase their cultural heritage. Now, in 1978, the Christmas Carnival celebrations at Nevis, they came to an end, and so between 1978 and I'm kind of mixing up here. In 1974, at that meeting, they decided that the Christmas activities, was dwindling somewhat, and so they needed a festival apart from Carnival that was celebrated in December to somewhat, showcase the cultural traditions of Nevis, give the cultural practitioners an opportunity to showcase the masquerades, the clowns, those sort of things. And so at that meeting in February, Calvin Howell and his group, Irma, and the others, they decided that we need to have a festival. The late Honorable Malcolm Gishard was a part of that committee along with Bahola. And so they came up with this whole idea of having a festival named Culturama. And then they decided, well, when are we going to have this festival? And so they looked at the calendar and they decided, August weekend, we want to have that festival over the August weekend. And we know that 4 years prior to that, we would have had the tragic sinking of the Christina disaster, which incidentally celebrates, we'll be commemorating the 50th anniversary of that tragedy this year. And so they came up with the whole idea of Culturama. Now, the first Culturama festival was a very small festival. The Calypso show, I'm told, only had 3 competitors. Bahola happens to be one of those competitors. You had Bahola, you had Peter Wilshire. He was a competitor, and Zero incidentally became the first Calypso king of Culturama. Then there was a Miss Culture talent show, because at that time we did not have the Miss Culture Queen pageant as it is called today.
Right.
It was a talent show, and we know that, of course, Lucina Wade would have won that talent show back in 1974. There was also a food fair on the Saturday of that Culturama weekend. There was an art and craft exhibition at the courthouse, the then courthouse, which is now the Theodore Hobson courthouse.
Yes.
There was an art and craft exhibition there, and of course on Monday they had the Emancipation Juve, and they also had the parade of troops. So at that time we did not have Tuesday as a holiday. That came sometime later. Now, the first chairman of Culturama then was the late Calvin Cabo Howell, and so that is how Culturama started. And between 1974 right up to today, Culturama has evolved. Now, in 1990, by the time we got around to 1990, it was felt that it was becoming a little bit too expensive. Sponsorship was not forthcoming. NEDACs was having some difficulty in terms of organizing the festival, and so the Nevis Island administration then under the premiership, I think, of Dr. Simeon Daniel, yes, they nationalized Culturama. And so they took it over. And from then, Culturama has been under the umbrella of the Nevis Island Administration. In 1998, the Culturama Secretariat was established. And then, in 2008, we had the establishment of the Nevis Cultural Development Foundation, and the Culturama Secretariat was then under the umbrella of the NCS. So you would realize that Culturama over the years has grown, has evolved. And so, where we are today, it took some amount of years for us to get where we are today. Now, I must let the people know, and Eric spoke earlier about the fact that we'll be celebrating Culturama 46 next year.
Yes.
Now, that is not unusual, because in 1983, we did not have any Culturama celebrations, because that year, St. Kitts and Nevis gained their independence from Great Britain. And the cultural complex was under, the now cultural complex was under construction. And because of the great amount of planning that had to go into the independence celebration, it was decided that Culturama would have been suspended that year. I think that 1983 would have been the 10th anniversary of Culturama. And so we have now skipped 2 years. And so when we talk about Culturama now, we talk about the 46th staging or the 45th staging, because we would have missed 2 years. 2 years. I just want persons to know that next year we will be having the 46th staging of Culturama.
And next year should have been the 48th then.
Next year, technically speaking, should have been the 48th anniversary.
Right. Oh, okay.
And so next year we will be celebrating the 46th anniversary. And just to let the people know, over the years, some of the persons who would have cheered Culturama festivals, I made mention of people like Calvin Howell, the first chairman of Culturama. Then you had people like Mel Henville, Clifford Boots Griffin, you had Rollinson Isaac, you had Hensley Daniel, Halstead Byron, who has the distinction of being the longest serving chairman of Culturama. You had myself, because I came in as chairman of Culturama in 1999. And then you had Vernell Powell. You had Tyrone O'Flaherty, a former member of NEDAX, a former Calypso King of Culturama. You had Dr. Patricia Bartlett and Deborah Tyrrell. So these are some of the persons who would have cheered Culturama. I think I would have missed some of those from NEDAC. So when we open up the lines, if there are other persons who would have cheered Culturama under NEDAC, you are free to call in and give us an indication of those persons. Now, Culturama has had many homes. Culturama started, the first place where Culturama was staged was at the Charlestown Secondary School grounds. It then moved from there down to the Nevis Club, what we call the club. We used to call it the club then, Pinnis Beach Club. In 1981, Culturama was staged at the then Grove Park, which we now know as the El Camino Village Park. Culturama went up to Grove Park in 1981. In 1982, it moved back to the Nevis Club. And from 1984 until present day, Culturama has been staged at the now Nevis Cultural Complex. Another venue that has been used to stage Culturama is the Cultural Village. And that Cultural Village was established in 1996. And so it has been running for some time. In 2017, the Nevis Island Administration decided to upgrade the facility and provided a brand new facility which we can now enjoy today. And so over the years, Culturama, after the establishment of the Secretariat, We had some new additions to the festival over the years. The International Artist Show was introduced in 1999. That first show saw the legendary Culture, Joseph Hill and his Culture Band. They performed at the first ever International Artist Show for Culturama. We also saw the Soca Monarch competition introduced in that same year, where Sweeties, the mighty Sweeties, was crowned as the first Soca Monarch winner of Culturama. We also had the introduction of the Mr. Cool in 2000. Von Anzelins happened to would have been the person to be crowned as the first Mr. Cool contest. In 2008, we diversified the calendar somewhat again, and we introduced the band clash. So you realize that Culturama would have seen a number of additions over the years. In 1987, under NEDAX, we had the introduction of the Mr. and Miss Talented Youth Pageant. It was called, the inaugural show was called a teenage show, but then they were having some difficulty in sourcing contestants, and so they extended the age to up to 13, and so the name was changed to the Mr. and Miss Talented Youth Pageant. We know, of course, that Virgil Brown and Ambassador Elsa Wilkin and Bristol, they were the first winners of that inaugural Culturama talented teen then. And then over the years, we would have had a number of Calypso kings that would have been crowned for Culturama. In fact, we had 13 kings that would have been crowned for Culturama. 13. And if I could quickly mention some of them and the number of times that they would have won. The Mighty Zero, he only won in 1974, and he won one time. Flamingo, he won twice. Baha'u'llah the Meek, he has 2 Culturama crowns. The Mighty Miko would have won some 9 of those Culturama crowns. King Chubby would have won 1. Ginger would have won 2. This and that has the distinction of holding the most Culturama crowns, 11. King Bingi, 4. Chaplet would have won his first crown in 1992. He has 2 crowns under his belt. Astro came in as if in 2003, and he would have won. One of the songs is coming to my mind right now. He paid tribute to that great fifer from Barnsgot, Thunder. Astro now has 5 Culturama titles under his belt. I saw out of St. Kitts. I saw has the distinction of being the only Kittitian that would have won the Culturama Calypso competition. We have also the Inspirer. He would have won the competition once, that is in 2009, and he too has the distinction of being the youngest Calypsonian that would have been crowned for Culturama. We had Hollywood coming in 2011, and he has won some 3 crowns. Actually, Hollywood is the reigning king, and by Hollywood and them fellas lucky boys. Hollywood gonna be reigning for 2 years. Hollywood is going to be reigning for 2 years, just like Miko did in 1982. 1982, Miko won the crown and reigned for 2 years.
But you have to tell Hollywood, he got reign for 2 years, but that didn't mean that he has gotten the crown 2 consecutive years, 2 consecutive times, exactly. Because nobody have had that distinction.
Yes,
right.
That is still outstanding.
That is still outstanding.
Right. And it's amazing that
you believe Hollywood realized that he's gonna be reigning for 2 years yet?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know. And Nyla, she's gonna be reigning for 2 years as well. And the Mr. Cool
and the Groovy
Mr. X-Man and Speedy, they're gonna be reigning for 2 years. And so, you know, the information on Culturama over the years is somewhat interesting, very, very interesting. Now, in 1998, the Department of Culture then decided that, boy, we have had so many people contributing to Culturama. We need to honor the persons who would have helped to build Culturama over the years. And so they came up with honoring cultural icons, patrons of Culturama, yes, patrons. And so in 1998, we had Darryl Doe being a patron of Culturama. Then we had David Freeman in 1999, John Libert in 2000, Georgina Mills in 2001, Eglantine Jubry in 2002, Joseph Jogger Brandy, who actually is still active, beating the kettle drum. He would have been the patron in 2003, the late John Jarvis 2004, 2005, Wilfred Hamilton, the late Wilfred Hamilton, 2006, Anita Lawrence. And I want to say good evening to Anita, a very good friend of mine over there in Cotton Ground. I'm sure she's listening. Nehemiah Neal in 2007, Norman Libert in 2008, Owen Busu Hendrickson in 2009, 2010 would have seen Eugene Cannon Pemberton out of Cox, 2011 the late Eulalie Francis. We had Victor Elmos Jeffers, who you know very well, Eric.
Yes.
He would have been one of your probably longest standing tractor drivers at the Department of Agriculture. Then we had Basil Bam Manners in 2013. 2014, we had the man who invented Kadri. Kadri was invented in 1978. Tyrone O'Flaherty. In 2015, we decided to do something special. Rather than honoring one person, a single individual, we decided to honor an organization that would have helped to build Culturama over the years. Under NEDAX, the Culturama Board of Trustees, Arthur Evelyn, Violet Nichols, I think that those were the two surviving members at that time, and so we honored them. These were the persons who were responsible for going around to the business places and soliciting sponsorship and all that, so that, you know, Culturama could have had some monies. And then the following year we followed in that same vein, and we honored one of the musical groups that would have been with Culturama for many years. The Soul Survivors Band, we honored Elroy Swanston and Joseph Gazer. Joseph Gazer was the owner of the Soul Survivors Band then. In 2017, we went into Joseph Claxton. 2018, Clefrin Shine Daniel. That sport he used to play is what? Giant the Spear.
Yes.
And last year, we honored Felicia Hicks, Gladys France, whichever name she goes by. The Red Cross. She would have been along with Georgina Annie Mills. They would have been at the forefront of that Red Cross, right over there in the St. James's area. And Eric, your permanent secretary, Keith Glasgow, was a part of, as I speak of the Red Cross, he played Red Cross with Gladys and Georgina.
That's how old he'd be.
He would have played with Georgina and things. And so, you know, Culturama over the years has really evolved. We now know that, you know, recently we have added the FETs, because, you know, we wanted to diversify the festival a little bit, provide some entertainment, because in order for Culturama to remain attractive,
yes,
let me use that word,
relevant.
attractive and relevant. Now I know that Irma Johnson, the mother of Culturama, would be mad with me for saying this, but we could not have kept Culturama the way that it was going over the years. We had to inject.
There had to be an evolution.
Yeah, an evolution. And Culturama evolves, keeps evolving.
Yes, of
There are
course.
new things that are being added from time to
And
time.
of course, we have to bear in mind that we want to attract as many persons as possible
Right.
to participate in the
And
festival.
not only to participate, we want to attract persons from around the region. Now, we are now, well, recently we have fostered a very close relationship with the Nevis Tourism Authority. And we will be the Nevis Tourism Authority will be using Culturama as one of its selling points for persons to bring visitors into Nevis, and we welcome that, Miss JD Niad. We're looking to work closely with you going forward, because we want Culturama to be recognized regionally and of course internationally. Now, a few years ago, I was talking to a very good friend of mine, Alfred Tyrrell. I'm sure he would not mind me calling his name. And he told me that he was at the cultural complex attending a show. And during one of those breaks, Alfred walked at Central Bank with persons from around the region. He stood up and he looked across from where he was sitting. And he saw a familiar face. And he said, but wait, this is somebody from St. Lucia or St. Vincent, that person. What is he doing here? So he went across. Boy, what are you doing here? He said, boy, I see Culturama advertising on the television on CMC. And I used to go Antigua every year. Man, I want a different experience. I come to Nevis this year. And that is, we want to continue to build Culturama in that vein, so that persons around the region, persons internationally, could hear about Culturama, want to learn about the history and the culture of Nevis, and come to Nevis for Culturama. And so in order for us to remain relevant, in order for us to remain attractive, we have had to diversify the festival. We have had to introduce new elements. Last year, Royal Rampage, Seba Jones, they had revelers that left Carnival in Antigua and came to Nevis to play mass with Seba. Those are the things that we want to encourage going forward for Culturama. We want to be able to, although we are small and much smaller than Barbados, Crapova and Grenada and Antigua, and Anguilla, well, is a little later than us, a week later. Grenada is a week later. But we want to be able to compete with these regional festivals and have some of the persons that go to these festivals come to Nevis to witness the Caribbean's greatest summer line.
I totally agree with you, Abo. I think, of course, Culturama can be used as a major selling point, a major tourism product. Because, I remember going to a regional meeting of ministers of culture, and they were saying, listen, there is too much of a disconnect between culture and tourism, and culture and tourism need to collaborate more, because we need, when tourism officials are promoting the islands, that they're using culture as one of their main selling points. So I'm happy to hear the fantastic collaboration between the Culturama Secretariat and the Tourism Authority, and going forward we want to see Nevis with a flood of visitors during the Culturama Festival, during the Caribbean's greatest summer lime.
Yes, and Eric, and one of the things when the festival was nationalized, I want to go back to 1993. I think the chairman then would have been Suti, that he implemented, he introduced, was the slogan competition. And so in 1993, the slogan competition was introduced, and it has continued up to this present day. Just to tease person's mind to see if they remember, the slogan in 1993 was Culturama 93, a festive time for you and me. That was the slogan back in 1993. And you had people over the years like Lord Cam, Wingy, and those persons who would have won the Culturama slogan competition. Last year we had Miss Vernon Williams of Brown Hill. She would have won that competition. And Eric, I'm now going to give you an opportunity to do something special tonight.
Yes. Yes. What I'm going to be doing right now, I'm going to be launching the slogan competition for 2021. Of course, when I made the release, when I made the statement that there will be no Culturama for 2020, I did indicate to you that there will be ample time for us to plan and plan big for C46 in 2021. And so we are starting our planning from tonight for Culturama C46 that will be taking place next year. And you know what, Abo, tomorrow when we would have had the launch of the festival, I would have been launching the slogan competition. And so I'm taking the opportunity tonight, Wednesday, the 22nd of July 2020, to launch the slogan competition for 2021. And so you can start putting your pen to paper, and let me just say that the slogans should be short and catchy to capture the true spirit of Nevis's Culturama Festival. Slogans should have never been used by any other festival or carnival committee. All entries should reach the Culturama Secretariat, Cotton Ginnery Mall, Charlestown, on or before Friday the 27th of November 2020. Entries can also be emailed to the Secretariat at culturamanevis.com. The winner of the 2021 Culturama Slogan Contest would receive 2 complimentary passes to all Culturama 21 events, a plaque, and an EC $500 cash prize. And I have to stick a pin there because I am happy, Abo, to indicate that it was under me that this $500 prize was initiated when I became the Minister of Culture. So I'm happy that I would have been the minister who added in that cash prize of $500. And of course, the Nevis Culturama Committee reserves the right to use this winning slogan during its planned extensive promotion of Culturama 2021, which will be celebrated over the period July the 22nd to August the 3rd, 2021. And so, the slogan contest for Culturama 2021 has been launched.
Officially launched
right here on the Mark Show. Today, Wednesday the 22nd, I see Melissa taking a pen and paper. I don't know if she's going to start putting slogans together.
Remember last year, Eric, as soon as I announced it, person started to text
me, and I'm sure by the time by the time the On The Mark Show is finished tonight, I'm going to get several slogans on my phone. Because last day, as soon as I announced it, I start getting messages on my telephone, and persons were already texting their slogans in. But remember, you have some time still. You have until Friday the 27th of November. Last year we got a lot of slogans, and we're expecting even more for 2021. So the slogan competition has been officially launched. All right, and Abo, we have someone who I think is lined up to call in. I wonder if that person
someone is lined up. Earlier, Eric and I spoke about the fact that we will not be having any activities for over the Easter weekend. However, there's this one person who insisted, and he went personally to the COVID-19 task force and pleaded and pleaded and pleaded, and they eventually succumbed to his request, to his pleading, and they have granted him permission to do an activity next week. And I'm asking that person, I know that he's listening, you can call now and let us know what activity you will be putting on next week to keep the Nevision public somewhat entertained during the daytime. The numbers to call: 469-1616, 469-1700. I know that person is listening because I just messaged him, and he actually indicated, Eric, that he is listening and he's enjoying the program.
Fantastic. And Abo, as you sat there and you gave all that information, I mean, you're a historian walking. Abo is a history book. I'm sure there's so many persons who have learned so much tonight, including me. I've learned so much about the festival, and there's so much to learn. I mean, Abo went into the archives and got all, and this is only the tip of the iceberg that you've heard from Abo, eh? He has a lot more information walking around with, and I'm sure persons who are listening would have learned a whole lot about Culturama, how it has evolved, where were the venues, who have been some of the patrons, who have been some of the winners, and that sort of thing. There's just so much to learn about our festival, and that is why I believe it will be a fantastic marketing tool for tourism. And so, do we have that person online as yet? No, not as yet, but we are inviting that person to call in. And of course, Abo, I want to agree with you. That person is I admire him. He's very persistent. He came to my office, and you know what he said to me? If the task force doesn't give me permission, I'm going to challenge them.
And I'm sure that he challenged them because he was persistent, and they eventually gave in.
And I'm very delighted that he would have received that permission. And of course, that is something that persons can look forward to next week. When he calls in, he'll be able to give you a lot more information. And of course, when he calls in, he'll be asking you to...
I see the telephone line.
I believe he's on the line. Good evening, caller. Hello?
Hello.
Good evening.
Yes, Mr. Minister Evening. It's Clayton Huggins calling.
Yes.
I've been listening to the show.
Yes.
Very informative.
Fantastic.
And as Abo mentioned, I went and made my case to the COVID committee, but I had decided before then that, we had talk about what's the new normal.
Yes.
My new normal is living in a country where you can go and hear people reciting poetry, or you can go and hear plays. So I decided several months ago to start planning for what I do, which is to have poetry events. I have a monthly poetry event which I've been running for some years, and over the last 3-4 months we have done it over Zoom. I went and I couldn't call it Poetry in the Square because that visually has been cancelled. I couldn't hold it there. And there is a place before, a little bit of history. We've been talking about history. Before Poetry in the Square was Poetry in the Square, I had thought of organizing it on the only street in Charlestown which you can block off and not interfere with the flow of traffic. And that is where the event will be held. It will be held on the little street which runs behind the newly reconstructed finance ministry, that new building next to the market. There will be tents. You will have to wear, to respect the COVID protocols, you will have to wear masks. There will be hand sanitizers there, and chairs. You'll be sitting on the tents, and chairs will be spaced to respect the social distancing. But we will have it only for 3 days, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. On Wednesday, the poems that we and poets we are inviting to participate are those who have written about the experience of COVID, the experiences of lockdown, so on and so forth. Thursday is an open day, and if in fact we had had a regular Poetry in the Square, the Friday would have been dedicated to Christina, because the following day would be the 50th anniversary, and we will have that. We will have a story by Hansel Manners. We will have Harvey Hendrickson reciting, but that Friday will be dedicated to the memory of Christina going down, which affected us so deeply. Another thing I would like to mention, as you know, I'm president, I assist Esther Brooks in running the Navy's Theatre Guild, and we decided a couple of years ago to have a festival. And in speaking to several stakeholders, in fact, it was Mr. Abo himself I was speaking to who suggested we hold it just at the introduction of Culturama because of the long association of theatre with Culturama. And had Culturama not been cancelled this year, we would have had a theatre group in from Jamaica. I can tell you that right now we are in rehearsal to have a play produced when it is feasible, and we think it will be shortly. So we are active as artists, as theatre and as poets in providing Navisions with opportunities to see plays and hear poets. So it's next week, Wednesday, the 29th, the 30th, and 31st. I spoke to Mr. Slack. That street actually has no name. It can apparently be called Revere because for many years there's a woman named Revere who lived there. But it has no official name, and apparently there's several streets in Charlestown like that. But it is the street behind the new building.
It's that street that leads from the public market up to the bus stop, the Gingerland bus stop.
But we will be nearer the market end.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And one other thing I would like to mention, Abba mentioned the importance of having regional participation. Poets in the Square has had poets from Antigua. Every year we have poets from St. Kitts, and we've had several poets from Trinidad participate, and they have been very well received. And to have one of the things that Dr. Bartlett did for Poetry in the Square was to make it even more culturally relevant by having dancers and competitions like breadfruit peeling and coconut husking and so on and so forth. And those have been a part of Poets in the Square. We're looking forward to participating next year, but until then there will be an opportunity for people who love poetry to come next week, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and hear us.
Clayton.
Yes.
You said that it will not be called Poets in the Square, but you have not told us what name that the activity would be hosted under this year. Before you go on, I just want to let the persons know that Poets in the Square started under Dr. Bartlett when she chaired the Culturama Committee in 2013 for Culturama 39. So that again is one of the innovations that was introduced to Culturama, and that was in 2013. So give us the name of the activity for next week.
It's called Nevis Speak, and Nevis Speak is the name of the organization. It was a name presented by a poet who has been with us for many years, James Galloway, and meaning people in Nevis who speak the word poetry as at public recitals. So it's Nevis Speak, and the S in Nevis is also the S in Speak. So it's a play on the word of Nevis and Nevis Speak. So it will be called. It will be a Nevis Speak presentation.
So it is spelled NEVISPEAK.
Yes.
And you said that the S is a capital S.
Yes, the S in Nevis is a capital S because it's also served as the S in Speak.
In Speak. Okay.
Fine. And so it's one word.
One word.
Yes.
NEVI capital SPEAK.
Yes.
Fantastic. Now, Mr. Huggins, how long will the what time of the day will it start, and how long is it expected to go?
Yes, the same time as poetry at lunchtime, so people can come bring their lunch and eat and listen to poems. And you will have to wear your mask, and I guess you won't be able to eat if you're wearing your mask. And we will have a station for you to sanitize your hands. And we're looking forward to having, I know we'll have a few poets from St. Kitts, we'll have a few poets from Nevis, and having something for people to do, which I think is extremely important to create a sense of normalcy in the society.
Mr. Huggins, I must commend you on your persistence and your commitment, your perseverance. I know you're very committed to poetry. And you have always been at the forefront. You have worked hard, and I really want to commend you. You were not going to take no for an answer. And I know that event, Poets in the Square, has grown tremendously over the years.
Yes.
And I know it is very well supported, and I'm hoping that persons will come out and support the event next week, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. I'm happy that you actually have different themes for different days, and
Yes.
so of course it was well thought out, and I'm delighted that the would have found favor with the COVID task force for your event.
Perhaps it's important for me to say why it found favor with the COVID, because I actually spoke to Dr. Nisbet and wrote to her committee. And one of the reasons why is because the milieu, the location and the format makes it easy to
Manage.
have a controlled
Yes.
crowd, because I suspect that the following day, on Saturday, you will have a similar thing on Hunkins Drive, which normally on that day you have the event in front of the Christina Memorial.
Yes.
And basically it's people sitting on their tent with people standing in front of them speaking. You just have to, and I spoke to her about that. The other events, they may feel that it's less, more difficult to have those protocols in place. But I mean, I'm sure solutions can be found, and I would encourage the COVID committee to do that, because, you know, it's important. Our health, physical, medical health is as important as our fiscal health, and having people together to socialize is extremely important. So if I can say that, and because I've spoken to several people who have expressed, you know, there's a need and an urge in the society for people to get involved in activities, and I'm fortunate, I think, that I have been able to find, as Abba puts it, favor. We're looking also for favor with the COVID committee. We're also looking forward because we are planning on having our play performed at the cultural complex, where people would be able to sit and observe social distancing, and the stage is large enough. That is our plan. We're making plans to have our play performed there. So we think that within the next month or two, depending on how things go, that we will have a play ready for Nivisions to see. So I want the public to know that there are people involved who are thinking of ways in which we can provide activities for members of the community to participate in, despite the fact that, you know, Culturama is not officially on the calendar this year.
Well, Mr. Huggins, thank you very much. I'll give you another opportunity to just invite members of the public out to your event. And as I said, I must commend you highly. And I believe that the event will go exceptionally well. I believe that now that you would have gotten the permission, that knowing you, I'm sure that everything is already lined up and ready to go for next week.
Yes, in fact it is. So again, it's next week, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday at 12 o'clock on the street behind the new financial Inland Revenue building. And remember to walk with your masks and come prepared to hear good poetry about COVID and about the lockdown on Wednesday. And on Friday we'll be having poetry and a story by Hansel Manners on Friday about Christina.
Thank you.
We also have a poem by Harvey Hendrickson.
Yes.
A very moving poem.
And the name of the event is Nevis Speak.
Nevis Speak.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Huggins. And of course, you have given us a lot of information. You have given the general public, the listeners, a lot of information. And I'm hoping that I'm encouraging them as well to come out and support. I will be there to support the event next week. I want to commend you once again for the effort. And I'm happy that at least we're having something next week.
Thank you very much.
You have a wonderful night and all the very best with the activity next week.
Thank you very much. Good night to you, Mr. Liber.
Thank you very much.
Clayton, thanks for calling. Yeah. And Eric, what we're going to do now is that we're going to look at Culturama 2019, Culturama 45, and to bring in that recap of the festival. We're going to go to the reigning Calypso monarch, and I see that his his manager here, a guy by the name of Roger Fifield, texting me all night telling me how had it not been for COVID, they would have won, and if Hollywood didn't mess up in 2018, she would have repeated, and all kind of things the man telling me here. So let us go, Melissa, to Hollywood from 2019, I hope.
Eye-opener for my people. What we need,
a perfect vision,
yeah,
a perfect vision throughout the nation.
yeah. I hope by the year 2020, my people will see beyond sight ability. I hope such year will bring happiness, success, progress, fairness, and remove the blindness. We losing vision, a sad situation, no doubt in my mind.
For months now, and years now,
I wonder why they just hope, I bring a little hope to those who partially blind.
for months now, and years now.
Proverbs 29:18 explain, without vision you will perish again and again. I have hope, yes, strong hope for 2020. A perfect vision, it means to me to scan what is wrong and to find any solution. Is it only me one can see how crime could kill the economy? Is it only me one can see we're much more fortunate than many?
By 2020,
By when?
by 2020,
Oh yeah!
by 2020, I hope all of you can see.
Is it only me realize it's very easy to criticize? Is it only me realize we losing the country before we
By
eyes?
2020, by 2020,
By when?
by 2020, I hope all of you can see.
Lack of vision is a serious problem. It not only haunting our children, but for our country's sake, we can't be making the same mistake. So if you need a eye test, I could give you my doc
By
address.
2020, by 2020,
I hope all of you can say.
a perfect vision, a perfect vision throughout the nation.
I hope by the year 2020, integrity will govern society. I hope that we see things getting crucial. True love is money, even Christian turning greedy. Murders and cancers to serial killers, wiping out mankind.
For months now, and years now,
Respect and compassion, our foundation, now on a decline.
for months now, and years now,
As the world spins with technology, we still can't solve crime even with CCTV. We so caught up and blinded politically. Selfishness become our mentality, but by a glance, I could see 10 years in advance. Is it only me one can see technology taking knowledge from we? Is it only me one can see cell phones will be our worst enemy?
by 2020, by 2020,
By when?
by 2020,
Oh yeah!
I hope all of you can see.
Is it only me realize certain things money cannot buy? Is it only me realize politicians tell us
By
realize?
2020, by 2020, by 2020,
Oh yeah!
I hope all of you can see.
Lack of vision is a serious problem. It not only hurting our children, but in country development, regardless who in government. If you want to save the world, you must take off your blindfold.
By
Yes, Eric, and there you had the reigning Calypso monarch, Andrew King Hollywood Nisbet, with a song, one of his winning competition pieces from last year.
And it's a wonderful song.
I hope. And, you know, we are in 2020. He spoke about some of the uncertainties of 2020. And you know that Hollywood, if you are listening, you and Raja,
Of course,
we're
listening.
we're blaming the cancellation of Culturama 2020 on Hollywood and Raja. They came up with this song, and I think that
2020.
this 2020 thing. So now, Eric, what we are gonna do? We are gonna recap, do a brief recap of Culturama last year. We're gonna look at the winners, and then after this, we'll give the listening audience and viewing audience, because we are live on Facebook, an opportunity to call in, tell us what you would like to see happening with Culturama going forward. Evaluate Culturama last year. Tell us what were your likes, what were your dislikes, and what you'd like to see going forward with Culturama. And so if you had to start with the P6 Junior Kaiser contest, the winner from last year, Teron Webb, the Invincible. The Mr. and Miss Talented Youth pageant, the winning school last year was the Ivor Walters Primary School. Now the Miss Culture Swimwear, the winner from last year is Miss Nataila Morton. Mr. Cool, the winner, Mr. David Archibald. The National Bank, St. Nevis National Bank Soca Monarch contest. The Groovy category, the winner for that was Mr. Delison Roper, X-Man. In the Power category, we had Mr. Tyrone Jeffers, Speedy, winning in that, winning the power segment of that, of the Soca Monarch contest. In the TDC Senior Kaiso contest, we had the winner, Andrew Nisbet, the King Hollywood. And for the SL Horsford Miss Culture Queen pageant, the winner from last year was Miss Nyla Daniel. In terms of the Junior Cultural Street Parade, the winner, we have Country Settings Come to Town, and that was performed by a group out of Gingerland, choreographed by, I'm forgetting her name. I don't want to say what we call her ordinarily on radio, but we know who it is, Randicia Chapman. In terms of the Senior Cultural Street Parade, the winner from last year, in the fantasy section was A Fete, We Are Fete, and that was portrayed by Royal Rampage. In the float category, the winner was Agriculture in Fine Style, and that was put on by the Department of Agriculture. In the folklore category, we had the winner, the Cotton Ground Masquerades. And for Old Mass, the winner for that category was Those Were the Days, portrayed by Mr. Nelson Jeffers. The Road March, the winner for the Road March competition last year was Deli Ranks. He is of the core band, and the winning song was Hee Haw. And as mentioned earlier, the slogan winner for last year was Miss Vernine Williams, with her winning slogan Love, Passion, Pride, Culturama 45. So we want to hear from you now, the listening public, in terms of what you have to say. I know that there are many persons who have a lot to say, especially since there is no Culturama this year. And I know that there are many persons who are gearing up for Culturama 21. And so the telephone lines are open for persons to call in. In the meantime, Eric?
And of course, just before people call in as well, we want to remind persons that they need to be as respectful as possible. And just before we take the first call as well, and I had a peep at my phone when that song was being played by the reigning Calypso Monarch, Hollywood, and I just want to say good night to the mighty Packer, who is always in tune. He's upset that there will be no Culturama this year. Packer, but it is what it is. There will be no Culturama. And you, as a matter of fact, you're at the epicenter of COVID, so we ain't want you down here. We ain't want you down here right now, Packer. You need to stay where you are right now. Okay, so good night to you, Dr. Packer. Also want to say I missed when I was calling the names of the person at the hospital, Diana Maynard. Someone called in and messaged me and said Diana is there. So good night to you, Diana. And I also want to say as well, just to clarify, because someone sent a message as well, that for the slogan, that when you're penning your, and as a matter of fact, I'm already getting slogans.
What?
Slogans are already coming into my phone. When I peeped at the phone, and one of the slogans was about COVID as well, you know.
You can't see yourself. I can't believe that you're getting slogans
I am getting
already.
slogans already. And I want to say here, let me clarify, because the slogan does not necessarily must have in C46. I know over the years people try to incorporate the year of Culturama, but it does not have to have in C46. And one other thing, let me say categorically here as well, that Tuesday the 4th of August will in fact be a holiday, because a lot of people have been asking. So Tuesday the 4th of August is indeed, it will be a public holiday. And so we have anyone holding, Melissa? Not as yet. Well, the lines are open, 869-469-1616 or 1700. You can call in. As I said, the historian, the Culturama historian, the boss of Culturama, Abu, would have given you a lot of information, a lot of history. And I'm sure persons would want to call in. He just recapped what took place for Culturama last year, Culturama 45. We have launched the Culturama slogan for C46 next year. And so we are gearing up. We're already gearing up for next year. So if you have anything to tell us with regards to Culturama last year, with regards to Culturama in general, with regards to the hosting, what you would like to see for Culturama 46 next year, please call in and give us your thoughts. The number is 869-469-1616 or 1700. Abu, you had something to say before we get our first call?
Yes, I know that we did not get down into 2020 in terms of, what I really want to say is that we did not get an opportunity to let persons know what we were planning for Culturama 2020. And so I just want to give some insights into some of the things that we already had a program and a calendar of activities. We already had a full calendar of activities ready to unleash on the Nivision public. But Mr. COVID, we were going to have the return of Bacchanal Corner. That event has been lacking from the calendar over the years because of the construction of the new financial complex downtown. We did not have sufficient space, and now that the area has been freed up somewhat, we were in fact planning to have the return of Bacchanal Corner.
And so we can say safely, hopefully, Bacchanal Corner will be back in 2021.
Bacchanal Corner will be on the calendar for 2021 because it was on the calendar, or it is on the calendar for Culturama 2020, but we have had to cancel Culturama 2020. Last year, it was sometime towards the end of November, you would have gone up as the Minister of Culture and the area representative for Gingerland. You would have opened a facility in the market shop area. And I want to let persons know that we had a number of activities for Culturama carded for that facility.
Spanking your wonderful facility.
The whole idea we wanted to start to decentralize, take some of the activities away from the capital, Charlestown, and spread them around Nevis. And we were going to start with the David Freeman Center of Excellence in 2020. We had the Senior Kaiso semi-finals. That event was carded for the David Freeman Center of Excellence. But unfortunately, we have had to cancel that. We also had a steel band recital that was organized by Mr. Gavin Patterson. That was also supposed to have taken place at the David Freeman Center of Excellence right there in Gingerland. And also we were looking at the Mr. and Miss Talented Youth Senior, the Mr. and Miss Talented Youth pageants, and the Senior Pageants fashion show, to have a fashion show at that facility as well. Persons would know that we have not had a fashion show for Culturama for some time now, and so we wanted to reintroduce the fashion shows to the calendar of activities for Culturama this year. And so we wanted to go to the David Freeman, a nicely spaced facility on a Sunday afternoon, right in the heart of Market Shop, and we would have had the reintroduction of the fashion shows to Culturama, this year. The persons for the fetes, they were already a part of our calendar. Friday Dawn should have been 5-in-1. Richard's Promotions 5-in-1, but again, unfortunately, COVID-19. The guys for the Glowfet, they were also all geared up. I think that their event would have been this coming Saturday. We would have had the Glowfet right there at the Cultural Village this coming Saturday. You know that their event is usually a little early in July, but this year they requested a date within the Culturama period, and so we had them fitted in nicely in the heat of the Culturama celebrations this year. Now, and the minister does not know about this. I did not bring it to his attention, but we were going to change up the calendar a little bit. The whole idea,
that's why I tell you, you're the boss.
we wanted to have an action-packed weekend. And so what we were looking at is the Friday night to have the Soca Monarch contest. You leave the Soca Monarch contest and you go down to the Pinnis Park for the all-day food fair. And that all-day food fair, I'm stressing all day because it would have ran up until about 9-10 o'clock in the night. And when you leave there, you would have gone straight up to the Cultural Village for the Culturama Soca Wet Fete.
So after you get hot and sticky at the park, you go up to get wet.
To get wet. and then the Sunday, we were not going to change the Queen Show because the Queen Show is a staple on the Sunday. And in discussion with someone who is into pageantry on the sister island of St. Kitts, who is into festivals, who has been a part of Carnival in St. Kitts and has studied Carnival around the region, that person said to me earlier this week, I don't know how Nevis does it, but I've been looking at pageants throughout the region, and Nevis pageants still command a very large audience.
Huge.
If you look at Antigua has taken away their Queen Show to a week before the big weekend. They have taken away the Caribbean JC show out of the main weekend and put it a week earlier. And it has happened in other Caribbean countries as well. They have moved the pageants earlier.
Yes.
And the main weekend or the main celebratory period is when they would have the hyped events.
Like the fetting events.
Fetting
weekend.
So that is what we were looking at this year. The Calypso show, in case you're wondering, we would have been staging the Calypso show on the Thursday evening.
Okay.
The Thursday evening. So you leave Harbour's Beach the Wednesday. As a matter of fact, let me back up and tell the persons what would have been happening in the Power Week. Notice what I said, the Power Week. The Power Week would have seen the Mr. and Miss Talented Youth pageant on the Sunday. The Monday we would have had Nevis Culturama Steel Pan Festival, and that event was going to be dubbed For the Love of Pan. That's Gavin Patterson, and a number of steel orchestras have popped up around Nevis, and they would have been featured. When I looked at the list, it would have been between 6 and 8 steel pan groups that would have been performing on the Steel Pan
And I would have
Festival.
been making my debut.
And you
as
would
well,
have been making your debut.
as one of the members of one of those steel bands.
The Tuesday evening, July the 28th, that is next week Tuesday, we would have had the Miss Culture swimwear, Mr. Cool. The Thursday, as I said, we would have had the Senior Kaiser contest. The Wednesday, we would have gone over to Harbour's Beach, and then that Minister Jeffers was planning something big,
Oh yes.
big, huge for Harbour's Beach this year. And so you'd have left Harbour's Beach. Now I know that Premier Mark Brantley and all the other minister, cabinet minister, Troy Lyman, Eric Evelyn, Hazel Brantley, all the others, honorables. That week they would have been a little bit lenient with government workers. Melissa, you don't have to work because you come from the private sector. So you would not have been enjoying this kind of fun. So you'd have left Harbour's Beach and you'd have come to the Calypso show the Thursday night. The Friday night, you would have gone to Soca Monarch. Saturday night, all the food fair. Wet Fete, because you know the Wet Fete don't start until
Late.
Crowds don't come out until 12, 1 o'clock. And so that is why we were going to run the food fair down till about 10 o'clock. And then the Wet Fete would have begun in earnest 11, 12 and gone right down until morning. You leave the Wet Fete, go home, you would not have to bathe because so much water would have been there. You done bathe already. You change your clothes and you go to church. In the afternoon, you go to the drag race. You leave drag race. You come to the Queen Show. When the Queen Show finish, you go down in the village, and then you head up to Beach Road for the Long Jam into Charleston. And I know that Cole was planning something big this year.
Abo, with all of what you're outlining there, I think you're getting people at home upset, you know. I believe that's why nobody calling, because people are upset. As a matter of fact, when Packer messaged me, Packer is upset. He said, why are you all on there talking about Culturama? We're not having any Culturama, right?
We're having a virtual discussion.
We're having a discussion on what would have taken place and what we hope to take place next year. Because we know tomorrow would have been the launch of the festival, and people were all very anxious to have something during the Emancipation holiday weekend. And that is why, even though we are not having any festival this year, we ensure that people will get that additional holiday that people have been accustomed to on the Tuesday. So you will still be getting your holiday. So it's still like a Culturama holiday weekend, but minus the activities. Of course, we've heard from Mr. Clayton Huggins that we're having some activities next week. But as I said, we're having this discussion because we still want to have the idea and the concept of Culturama. It's still alive in your mind.
Yeah, we want to keep Culturama alive in the people's mind.
We want you to be gearing up for Culturama 46 next year in 2021. And so that is why we decided to have this discussion tonight. We, of course, have heard a lot of history from Abo, and we are hearing about some of the plans that we had for this year. And since we are not having the Culturama this year, it means that they'll be materializing in 2021. And so I want to remind you that our lines are open: 869-469-1616 or 1700. Anything about Culturama you want to talk about, please feel free to call in. And as Abo indicated as well, people always have a lot to say about the festival, right? A lot to say. People say what's all about what you think is good, all about what you think is bad, and people always want to have their say. And so if there's anything on your mind that is playing on your mind about Culturama in general and you want to call in, please feel free to do so. All right? Abo, go ahead.
Eric, it's 9:32 here in Nevis, right? And I have a young lady all the way over in England disturbing my phone. It's what? It's about 2:33 in the morning. Lisa, Libod, good night, go sleep.
No. She must ensure that she listens on the mark every Wednesday. She never misses it.
I think she's in what? Northampton?
Yes.
Northampton.
I want to say good night to her and the rest of the family, and Heather and my godchild, my godchildren there in Northampton as well, to Marley and Constantia and the rest of the family. Good night to you. And of course, I want to say good night to two folks who always never misses the show. They always listen to Mr. and Mrs. Pierre down there in Puerto Rico. Leonard and Emerald Pierre, good night. I know you're listening and you know you're in tune. But as I said, if you want to call in and discuss anything with Culturama, our lines are open. Remember, please be very respectful. We have certain standards here on the Eastern Caribbean Spa House, and we have certain standards here on the On The Mark show. And of course, we do not want anybody to be ever disrespectful on the phone lines. Okay, Abo, continue. You still have a lot of information that you want to share with us.
Yes, and so, yeah, just to round off on the calendar, to let people know that we were planning an exciting festival this year, and actually this evening right here on the Mark show we have launched Culturama 2021, during which we'll be celebrating the 46th staging of the festival. So from tonight onwards, expect to hear a lot more about Culturama. The slogan competition has been launched already. Persons who wanted to enter the pageants this year, continue to hit the gym, continue to do your preparation, work on your speech, your talent. As a matter of fact, Roger told me that Hollywood already has his material written and rest down for next year. I want
I like that about rest down.
Yeah, rest down. So I want to encourage people, we want to have maximum participation in the festival next year. We want to rebound from COVID-19 with a massive festival in 2021. I know that the Honorable Eric is already gearing up to play mass
all the time
for Culturama 2021. And so we want to we just want to hear from you now. We want to hear from you what you would like to see for Culturama 21, and we want Culturama 2021 to be the precursor to Culturama 50.
Oh yes, I did say last year, Abo, that C45 was what is the word? We were preparing for Culturama 50, and so that huge event that we had in 2019, C45, was a dress rehearsal. It was a dress rehearsal for Culturama 50, and I kept saying that every year going up to C50 was going to get a little better and a little better until when we reach C50. Of course, C50 is now delayed by 1 year.
1 year.
Right? And so by the time we get to C50, it's going to be extra huge. And so we are expecting that from next year, every year going up to C50 will get a little better, may have maybe an extra activity or two. And so because, of course, I just spoke about the evolution of Culturama, Abo, every year we seem to be getting. And you notice as well, I'm sure you didn't mention it, that for this year, the requests for the fringe activities, I'm sure the most requests that you've ever gotten, ever received.
We had to have a separate meeting to look at fringe activities. I'm thinking that we had in excess of 10 requests for persons to do fringe activities, fetes, plays, all sorts of things, people, and we want to encourage people, because we as a committee, the NIA as a government, cannot put on the type of festival that we want to put on by ourselves. So we want to encourage partnerships between private promoters. We want to encourage the business community to come on board and offer sponsorship. We know that the business community suffered some losses this year, but we are hopeful that by next year the economy would have rebounded, and our sponsors, our major sponsors like the TDCs, the Hosfords, the Caribbean.
Stick a pin there, but I think we have a call online. We have someone holding. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Good evening, Eric.
How are you doing?
I am doing well. How about you?
I am doing well as well.
Wonderful. And good evening to Avo.
Oh, Tessa, good evening.
I think you guys are upsetting people tonight. That's why nobody's calling.
I did say that.
Everybody wanted to just quietly sail through this, like, in denial. And you're here making us relive so many memories, so many wonderful memories of Culturama over the years, knowing that we're not going to have any Culturama this year. But I have a question, one or two, for clarity. One, are we still having the holidays of the Monday and the Tuesday?
Yes, absolutely. We are still having. We did not want to take away. Well, actually, the Monday is actually a staple. The Monday is the first Monday in August. It's
August
always
Monday.
a holiday, but the Tuesday is normally a holiday just for the Culturama Festival. And irrespective of the fact that we are not having the festival this year, we have made representation for persons in St. Kitts and Nevis to get their holiday as usual. So
Okay.
the Monday and the Tuesday will be the holidays as usual.
Well, thank you very much. I'm looking forward to the rest.
Yes.
I have a question then. Well, let me ask the question first and then I'll make the comment. Are we not, I am going to assume that there will be no long jam?
No, there will be no. Tessa, you sound like you are ready to go jam.
Listen,
You got your shots
I
already?
haven't been on the road in a long, long time. But after all this COVID stress, I think a lot of people were going to be on the road just to get rid of the stress. So why not? I'm pleading on behalf of all of the road dogs that do Culturama log jam every year. Give the people that they can social distance. Put a big stick between every line, or whatever it is that they need to do, but allow people to get that exercise to relieve the stress, to whatever you want to call it. The long jam needs to happen that Monday. What are people going to do all day Monday sitting with nothing happening?
People will find things to do. People will find, trust me, people will find things to do.
But it's like having your coffee when you first get up in the morning. That Monday morning is not going to be the same if people don't get their long jam to start the day. So Eric, I am pleading with you on behalf of all of the road dogs. Corey Tyson, I know that you would love me for this. Please, Eric, go to whoever you need to talk to, and just please, we need the long jam. I'm a looker on. I'll get up out of my bed and go up to the top of the road and sit on the stone just to watch the people.
You know,
come
Tessa,
down.
I was going to say one thing. We'll have it if you decide to jump from Market Shop to Charlestown. That's the only condition under which we will have it. Right,
Eric, I
Dabo?
don't know about jam, but I'll walk in front of the band from Market Shop to Charlestown if you tell me tonight that we're going to have it.
No, we want to see you jamming.
Okay, well, I'll chip then.
You know, when I thought about having this program, right, and I called Abo, I was saying to myself, there will be one drawback to this program. I'm going to get some pressure tonight. And Tessa, you had to call in to put on the pressure. No, I'm serious. When I thought about doing the program, I said to myself, people going to want to call in and say, demand, but we need this. And I said to myself, you know what? Probably people won't, but let's still do the program. But
Well, Eric, I'm not demanding. I'm asking nicely. Please, we need the long term, Eric.
we have heard you loud and clear. All right?
Please. All right.
All right.
I'm looking forward to the announcement in a day or two.
Thank you for calling and have a wonderful night. Take care. All right.
Bye-bye.
Yes, Abo, I did say that we're gonna be under a little pressure tonight,
yeah.
but that's the spirit of the festival anyway. We're having our virtual festival this year. We're not having a festival. You know what? As a matter of fact,
Phones are lighting up again.
we have
Let's
another
go to-
caller online. Good night, caller. You're live and on the mark. Hello. Hello. Good evening.
Tessa, if I love you one more time,
Hello.
if I love Tessa one more time,
Mm-hmm.
we want the long jam.
Well, you ain't talking to me. You're talking to who? You talking to me or Tessa?
Tessa, I love you.
All right. Tessa, that call is for you. The person didn't want to talk to me. All right. Thank you very much for calling anyway, and thanks for going on the air. All right. Tessa, you have somebody loving you off the air on the phone. All right. But anyway, we are having a lively discussion here tonight. If you're just tuning in, if you're just joining on the mark, I have in the studio with me tonight is, of course, the regular host, the Honorable Mark Brantley is not here. Eric Evelyn hosting tonight, and we have the boss of Culturama, Mr. Antonio Abonati Liburd. That's the man who has been behind the festival for a number of years and has been doing yeoman service to the island of Nevis, doing a tremendous job as the executive director of the Culturama Secretariat and as the chairman of Culturama. Abu, you have been doing a marvelous job. And let me just say once again, I don't know if we're going to have any other callers, but I just want to say once again that the slogan competition for Culturama 21 has been officially launched tonight right here on the mark. And let me just say once again that the slogans should be short and catchy and should capture the true spirit of Nevis's Culturama Festival. The slogan should have never been used by any other festival or carnival committee. All entries should reach the Culturama Secretariat, Congenary Mall, Charlestown, on or before Friday the 27th of November 2020, and entries can also be emailed to the secretariat at culturamanevis.com. And the winner, of course, of the 2021 slogan competition would receive 2 complimentary tickets to all Culturama 21 events, a plaque, and an easy $500 cash prize. And of course, the Culturama committee would reserve the right to use this slogan, the winning slogan, to, of course, vigorously and extensively promote Culturama 2021. That will be celebrated during the period July the 22nd until August the 3rd, 2021.
Yes, and Eric, it seems as if that a number of persons, after they hear that we were discussing Culturama this year, they have decided to stay up, because I just learned that Moses and Jacqueline Webb over there in England, they in Leicester, they are all the way over there in Leicester, and they are tuned in. So I want to say good evening to Moses and Jackie Webb.
So it seems as though those England people ain't going to sleep tonight.
They ain't going to sleep because we're talking Culturama.
and even though they can't come, they want to hear what we are
saying.
They
want to hear what we are saying.
They want to hear what we are saying. And of course, we want to apologize as well, because we didn't want to upset anybody. We know that we didn't want to rub it in that no Culturama is being hosted this year. But as I said, we wanted to just keep the spirit alive. I know I got a text the other day from a young lady, and she was saying to me, I still cannot accept the fact that there will be no festival this year. Of course, we know what the circumstances are, why there is no festival. We have another caller online. Good night, caller. You're live and on the mark.
Yes, good evening. Good evening.
Good evening. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you. I'm calling from all the way in the United States.
Fabulous.
However, I was one of the persons who were fortunate enough to witness the launching of Culturama in 1974.
Wow.
Yes. I also recognize that my dear friend Irma Johnson, she taught me in school. I'm sure she might recognize my voice. Might be a bit upset that the original intent of Culturama is also gradually slipping away.
Yes.
But in Culturama's future defense, and also to support my dear teacher and friend Irma, times are changing. The older folks are dying. The ones who would have kept the originality going, such as the cakewalk and those other cultural activities that we were accustomed to as children or when we were growing up. Because I do remember the sports like the bulls and the masquerades and all the good stuff when it was under the JCs at the time. So as time moves on and generations die off and the new ones come up, I guess it might be fair to say that launching it to make it more, if you will, national, expose it more, might be a good idea. I think, personally. That's how I feel. I really also miss the fact that there will be no Culturama this year because I was home last year and had a wonderful time, I have to admit.
Yes.
But things happen, especially things that's on beyond our control.
Precisely.
And when that's the case, we just have to be, we just have to accept it.
Yes, yes.
But yes, I like how the program is going.
Thank you.
It's not a bad idea to just rehash a little bit of the past.
Right. Mm-hmm.
It brings back good memories.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think there should be need for getting upset and things like that. It's like, okay, we can't be there to celebrate and have a good time in person,
Mm-hmm.
but virtually is the way it seems as if we are going now.
Right.
So
Mm-hmm.
best to you, and continue to say what there is about Culturama, because there are a few things I learned about it too, because though I was one of the launchers of the festivity in 1974, I have to honestly admit I haven't been around for everyone from
Right.
then until last year.
Right, right.
I've been away for many, many years.
Mm-hmm.
So that being said, lots of changes took place, necessary changes,
Mm-hmm.
like the one that was missed in 1983. It was for the occasion of the
Independence.
separation or our independence
Yes.
from Britain.
Mm-hmm.
So those are things that the average person may not remember or
Right.
even associate with the fact that we had to skip a year because of something so important.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I think that rehashing the history up until last year is a good thing.
Thank you. And let me just
Okay.
quickly engage you just for a minute, just before you go. You said
Sure.
you were there for the launching in way back in 1974.
1974,
You were
yes.
here last year. You said that you had a good time. But tell me though, frankly speaking, tell me, how did you perceive? What was your perception? What are your thoughts on the festival last year?
I liked the street festival, like the activity that was around the waterfront.
Yes.
The one that I think was held that Saturday, where it was what they call.
You mean the aquatic sports?
Yes.
Well, actually, that was organized by my organization, the Empire Sports Club.
Yes,
So
I
thank you
like
very
the
much.
aquatic sports. Not to mention, I had with me my two little grandsons. They were 9 and 4, 5,
Yes,
something like
okay.
that, 9 and 5,
Mhm.
and they enjoyed the waterfront.
Great.
They kept
I'm
very
happy.
busy with
I'm happy.
There were two, I think. One is like an anchor. Is it a red anchor or something like that around
Yes,
the best?
yes,
of it?
yes, yes.
It's a crane.
Yes,
Mhm.
they just loved it.
Mhm.
They could care less about the music and the everything else because it meant nothing to them.
Okay. Mhm.
Just be there to splash around and eat all of the hot dogs and everything they could find, and play with the other children who they just made friends with. They
Yes.
don't know them, but they were very comfortable around them. They loved that.
Great.
So something about the festival, made them very, very happy,
Good.
and that I felt very good about. They also liked the beach. So I had to take them to the beach, and whatever made them happy was what I engaged myself in, because
Right.
it was their happiness. It was about them, not
Right.
me so much.
Okay.
But that aquatic sports I enjoyed that thoroughly. I also enjoyed the Queen show and the Calypso show competition. Those are the two things I really just must see,
Good.
regardless.
Great.
Anytime I am home and fortunate enough to witness a Culturama, those two festivals are always the thing that drives me.
Great.
So there we go.
Well, thank you so very much for calling, and it was
Yes.
certainly a pleasure having you on the program
And
tonight.
before I go, I must also take this opportunity to congratulate the administration on winning all 3 seats
Thank you.
to the federal government.
Yes.
I was holding my breath. I
Yes.
stayed awake until about 3:30.
Wow.
I stayed awake until about 3:30 the evening going into the next day
Yes.
of the voting.
Yes.
And once I heard Mr. Alexis
Mm-hmm.
made it,
Mm-hmm.
I said, okay, I can go to bed now.
Good.
Yes, so my congratulations to
Thank
you all.
you so very much.
And Godspeed for a successful term.
Yes.
And hopefully, if you continue to do what you have promised,
Yes.
your supporters, that you will do, that they will definitely send you back for another term.
Thank you so very much.
Okay, you're
have
very,
a
very
wonderful
welcome.
night. God bless.
You do
And
have a good
And
one,
please
too.
stay
Thank
safe.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Mhm.
Wonderful, refreshing call there, Abo,
Yes,
from
yes.
the U.S. Do we have anyone else holding? No. Okay.
I
Well,
want to say good evening to two other persons who are logged on and listening. My good friend Shooter down there in St. Croix, Mr. Cutler Stanley, down in St. Croix, he's logged on, and also Ursula Phillip up there in Atlanta. They are logged on. I want to say good evening.
fabulous.
We have another call online, Eric.
Good evening. You're live and on the mark.
Good evening.
How are you doing?
Great. I will say trouble in Crown 1,
Mm-hmm.
77 and 80.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So you want to make a correction?
Yes, 77 and 80 trouble in Crown.
77 and 80. I'm looking for my sheet. Give me 1 minute.
It shows that people were listening keenly, Abo.
You have the sheet, Eric? Look at the sheet. Okay, 1977, you said?
Yes, and 80.
All records are showing that Miko won in 1977.
77, you want with so some more teacher, cultural teacher.
Yeah.
This
And
has
80
should be
one
1980.
with,
Okay, I think I recognize the call. I'm not going to call your name, but we are going to check the records again for that. Thanks for drawing that to our attention.
I'm going to call you tomorrow.
Yes.
Alright.
Thank you very much, caller.
I've made the
Yes.
correction here in my list, and we are gonna check our records for that.
Thank you very much.
That was way before my time at Culturama, so I'm just going by what I met on file.
Thank you very much. Have a good night. All right, time is slipping away, Abo.
Yeah, I
but
think
just-
that we can wrap up.
Yes, I just want to remind folks that next week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, the 29th, the 30th, and the 31st will be Nevis Speak, and it's in that little road just behind the new Treasury building in Charlestown, that road that you walk from the market going up to the Gingerland bus stop, and so persons will be there with their poems next week, Wednesday. And so we're encouraging persons to go out and support that event, reminding you as well that the slogan competition for Culturama next year, C46, has officially been launched here tonight, and you can start putting pen to paper. You can send your slogans. You can take them to the Culturama Secretariat at Cotton General Mall, or you can email them to the secretariat at culturamanevis.com, and of course you have until Friday the 27th of November to get your slogans in. I also want to remind folks that this coming Friday, or this coming Thursday, that's tomorrow night, we have the town hall meeting, conversations with the people. We are restarting our town hall meetings at the Nevis Island Administration. Tomorrow night we'll be at the Cotton Ground Community Center from 7:30 p.m. Of course, you are asked to wear your mask. And then, of course, on Friday we have that opening of that new restaurant and bar on Westbury Road, Dewdrops, and it's from 12 noon until 10 p.m. There'll be lots to eat and drink, so go on out and support. And of course, the restaurant will be open every day from 7 a.m. until 9 p.m. Sunday to Sunday. Abo, it was certainly a pleasure having you on tonight. I think we shared a lot of information with members of the general public. We want to thank those who called in, and of course it was such a pleasure being here. Abo, any quick final word?
Yes, there's one thing that I want to mention. The Culturama Secretariat, the Ministry of Culture, is partnering with the Nevis Tourism Authority to stage a Nevis song competition. Once we are over COVID-19, we want to be able to go out in the diaspora, go out to our major markets and market Nevis. Let people know that Nevis is open once again for business. And so we have launched a competition where we want persons to submit entries into what we call a song competition, a song that speaks about Nevis, promotes Nevis as an option for persons wanting to have an enjoyable vacation. And so the deadline for that competition should have been next week, but we have extended that competition. The deadline is now going to be in the second week of of September. So you have an additional 4, 5, maybe 6 weeks, and then we are going to be naming that winning song on September the 18th, the day before we celebrate independence. Now persons can win a cash prize of $5,000 for penning and producing and submitting that winning song. So I just want to encourage persons to all the producers, all the musicians, all the singers to get on board and be a part of that song competition. Eric, thank you for being here this evening, and all those persons who have called in, who would have sent text messages. Thank you, and we're looking forward to seeing you at Culturama 2021 when we celebrate Culturama 46.
Thank you very much, Abba. I want to say thank you very much to all who listened, all who called in, all who texted, and of course it was been our pleasure having you. Of course, remember to join us again tomorrow for a repeat from 1 p.m. It has been our pleasure. Good night, God bless, and have a wonderful Wednesday night. Thank you.
The views and opinions expressed on the preceding program were solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Nevis Broadcasting Company Limited or its advertisers.